the mood in the saloon. Ugh. The current Tottenham Hotspur team. Do you know what? Tottenham Hotspur and any sense of timing, particularly good timing, they're not happy bedfellows. They do not go hand in hand, Spurs and good timing. If there's a way for Tottenham Hotspur to shoot themselves in the foot when they don't even need to have a gun, they will do it. Honestly, I was as surprised, and many of us were, on Friday night about kind of what started to come out of the football club. Look, if there wasn't enough pressure on Saturday on Ryan Mason's shoulders to go and win a huge match, I say huge in the context of what they're fighting for now, trying to get European football. It was a big game. And for him to stand any chance of trying to get the head coach job permanently, there was so much pressure on him. But Spurs pretty much decided, yep, beep, 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 we're going to reverse this truck and just dump a load more pressure on you. That's what we're going to do. Because, less than 24 hours before they're about to kick off this important game, news started to emerge from within Tottenham Hotspur, with the club insisting that they had not met with Julian Nagelsmann, despite their respect for him, and they did not intend to meet with Julian Nagelsmann at all. He was not a candidate for them right now. Honestly, I was a bit lost for words. On many levels, it's for Spurs fans and a lot of the journalists, it made no sense whatsoever. It was Tottenham clearly trying to get ahead of the curve, shape the narrative. I think there's just this fear right now at the club of being seen to be rejected by anyone. But without putting too fine a point in it, they ended up making themselves look even dafter by kind of trying to get in there first, because it made no sense. Presumably they were worried that, something was going to come from Germany and Nagelsmann's camp, and they were just like, we'll get in there first, make it all in our favour. I don't know. They might have seen what happened at Chelsea, because Nagelsmann and Chelsea, if you look into that, that's a little bit like, where both sides seem to be saying different things. The Nagelsmann camp was saying he walked away. The Chelsea side of stuff, you talk to people there, it sounds like they withdrew from that. So I don't know if Spurs were just trying to do another version of that. I don't know. Because look, the truth is, Tottenham did make contact with Nagelsmann and his people to sound out his interest in the project at Tottenham. That's what should have happened. That's doing due diligence. That is looking at the best candidates out there for the role and making inquiries into whether they are available. So that's fine. The way it was coming out was that Spurs had not met with Nagelsmann. I guess you can look at the technicalities of that. You could say, well, maybe it wasn't in person. Maybe it was this. Maybe it was that. Maybe it was done through intermediaries. Maybe it was done over a phone call. Whatever. I'm not saying specifically which it was of those. I just know that contact was made with him and his people. Because, let's be honest, the club, from what I understand, is looking for a project manager to rebuild them. They're looking for someone who wants to be in it for the long haul. I said before about someone that didn't want to see them as a second, they didn't want to be seen as a second choice to that person, which maybe that's a Nagelsmann thing. Maybe, there was a feeling he didn't. I don't know. But look, if you're looking for that type of project manager that plays a certain brand of football and is in it for the long haul, you look at Nagelsmann and he ticks that box. He ticks the box for attacking football. He ticks the box of also being a big name manager, as well as that, to excite the fans. He ticks the box of bringing a real kind of modern cutting edge football that, let's be honest, we haven't probably seen too much of Spurs in the last 4 or 5 years or so. He does tick every box in that sort of style. So to not even kind of make any contact would look like being negligent. It would. And this is the thing, which I don't think Spurs thought about. It made it look just crazy. Like, why wouldn't you try to meet or interview one of the best kind of young managers out there in the world right now? it was just mad because, just to make it sound like there was no interest at all, it just reflected poorly on them, especially as there's been interest in him, over the years. This was the third time that they've considered appointing him. The first time was after Poch went, and they went for Jose Mourinho instead. Second time was after Mourinho went, actually, it was. But Nagelsmann went to Bayern, and Spurs, of course, went for Nuno Espirito Santo. And yeah, so you fast forward now to 2023, and the interest did not progress to the formal interview stage. Spurs, of course, as they're going to, strongly refute suggestions that Nagelsmann turned them down. I mean, technically, because I've heard them use this before, you can kind of get away from that because technically you could argue that he was never offered the job. Because there's ways around that. You can say that there was discussions over a job without actually having that formal written offer. So you can't reject someone that hasn't formally offered you stuff. I think that's the way these football clubs get around these things. But yeah, something clearly happened during these conversations that made any progress just stop in its tracks. It could well be that they just got the sense from Nagelsmann that he wasn't that into it. It could be that, which would obviously kind of lend itself to this let's get in here first approach. It could be that they decided that he wasn't the right man for the exact kind of rebuild they're doing. It could be. There's obviously was some concerns in Germany about man management style. That's one thing. It could be that could be one element of it, but it's just difficult to understand why that decision would be made almost 2 months after Conte had gone. Like, why so far down the line do you suddenly decide he wouldn't be the right man? Which is kind of puts that little bit of doubt on that way of spinning it, I guess. And also, I guess the whole point of not wanting to speak to them, it's like, why wouldn't you at least sit down for a full interview and listen to someone like Nagelsmann and what they've got to say and what they could do for your club? It did not make sense as well. If they're saying he did not turn them down, so why would there not be a full discussion and talk with him about things? Because again, that would be due diligence. That would be doing the thing you're meant to do. And this is why people, I think, will doubt this. This is the trouble when you're trying to almost proactively come out and make something very clear to the public. People are going to doubt it because of that. From the outside, I think a lot of people would think that Spurs needed Nagelsmann more than Nagelsmann needed Spurs. So to kind of make out that this kind of paint this whole picture of there's more suitable candidates, I think we'll go to. It just felt completely like they did it. It fell flat on its face, the whole attempt to do that. Regardless of what happened, this is the thing, we don't entirely know the exact circumstances of what happened because you're only going to have, it's going to be he said, she said type thing, both sides saying whatever they want to say about it. And we've had this in so many stories before. But either way, Spurs can't come out of it and a win because either way, they look incompetent if they're not considering such a strong candidate, but they also look unambitious if he rejected them. So it's like, it was just one of those where just let it go was my thinking. This is the irony. We've called for communication and stuff like this, but actually in this scenario, it's a bit like, did you really need to do that? Was there any need to proactively come out and kind of make this clear? It reminded me a lot of the Antonio Conte talks in the summer of 2021 when, they broke down and everything coming from Conte's people suggested that, he wasn't convinced about Spurs' ambition. And everything coming out of Spurs was very much, his demands were unrealistic and it was like really risky for the club. We don't want to put this club at risk with some of the things. But then obviously that was made all utterly ridiculous by the fact that 3 months later, Daniel Levy is kind of going like cap in hand back to Conte and saying, please join us, Antonio, please. It didn't really make any sense. And then obviously Conte had nothing better on the table, compromised what he wanted out of football, and we all knew it was a compromise that was really never going to last. So yeah, so here we are. We find ourselves